Hello folks, it's the Pace Chaser again. Welcome to another one of my videos, and this one is called How Big Was United? Now, some time ago I did a video about Saltburn Motor Services, who were a bus and miniature railway operator based, not surprisingly, in Saltburn in North Yorkshire. I mentioned in that video that the main operator in the area was United Automobile Services, and I also mentioned that they were a big company. Indeed, before deregulation in 1986 it was possible to travel from Berwick on Tweed on the border with Scotland right down to Leeds on United's local bus services. So from Berwick, a stage carriage service operated to Newcastle, then you could get to Darlington either directly or by changing at Durham if you wanted to get another bus in. From Darlington you could go to Northallerton on a service, from Northallerton to Ripon, and then from Ripon into Leeds. United shared the 36 route via Harrogate with West Yorkshire Roadcar Company. But at one time United was even bigger than that. And that's the focus of this video. So how big was United? So I'll now show you a series of photographs which appear random but which are all relevant to the story, as I will explain in due course. So first up I've got a photograph of London. It's the place that's relevant, not the buses as such, so I could show you a tourist hotspot, but where's the fun in that? So instead we've got a 2021 shot of Go Ahead London's Waterloo garage with various electric BYD buses parked up and charging. Next we've got an Eastern Counties bus, specifically a Bristol RALH with Eastern Coachworks body, and Eastern Coachworks will become relevant to our story as well. This is fleet number RLE 741, registered GCL 343N. Here it's seen in a 1982 photograph by Martin Addison, licensed under Creative Commons Licence 2.0, and it's loading at Queensgate bus station in Peterborough for a run to Birmingham, and it's carrying a non-standard livery of white with a red band. Next up we've got Lincolnshire Roadcar 1453, registered XTL 469X, a 1981 Leyland Leopard with Willowbrook 003 body, seen in Hull bus station in April 1994. Next we've got another Leyland Leopard. This one is East Midland 526, registered DWF 26V. It was new as fleet number 26 in 1979 with a Willowbrook coach body, similar to the one on Lincolnshire Roadcar 1453 that we just saw, but it was rebodied in 1985 with a dual dominant bus body as seen here. And this photo is by Bowler Googly, and again is licensed under Creative Commons Licence 2.0. And finally, for the random photographs, we've got the West Yorkshire Roadcar Company bus timetable for Harrogate and the Dales from 1984. And then back to the view we started off, which is a United Bristol MW with Eastern Coachworks body on the moors near Whitby in the 1960s, and that's on a picture postcard. So what connection do the previous views have to United? Well, let me explain. United Automobile Services was formed in early 1912 with its head office in London. It didn't operate services in London, however, although it later did reach the city on coach services from the north east. Instead, its first service was in Suffolk, running between Lowestoft and Southwold. E.B. Hutchinson was the managing director. In autumn 1912, the company expanded with a second route, not in Suffolk or indeed in neighbouring Norfolk, Cambridgeshire or Essex, but 260 miles away in Bishop Auckland, County Durham. In 1913, the head office was moved from London to Lowestoft, so that it wasn't remote from the operations anymore. Both the East Anglian and North East operations expanded, so that in the outbreak of World War I in 1914, there were 17 buses in County Durham and 18 in Suffolk. The outbreak of war caused severe problems for United. Within days, the entire Lowestoft fleet was requisitioned by the War Office. In the 1910s, motor transport was extremely newfangled, and as such it attracted a young workforce, almost all of whom went off to fight in the war. United was left with staff who were either too old, too young, or not medically fit for military service. Despite all this and many other problems, including rationing of petrol, somehow United survived the war. The First World War had a positive effect on motor transport. Before 1914, vehicles tended to be extremely unreliable. This was not acceptable to the military. After all, nobody wants to break down near the front line. So it led to the development of more reliable vehicles. When the war ended, many of these vehicles were sold as surplus, and operators such as United purchased them. They were usually lorries, so the lorry bodywork would be removed, the chassis refurbished, and a new bus body constructed on the chassis. In 1920, United opened their own bodybuilding works in Lowestoft to carry out this work in-house. Initially after the end of the war in 1918, efforts were concentrated upon re-equipping and building operations back up in the original two areas, but from 1919 United began to expand. Over the next 10 years or so, its buses spread into Norfolk, Cambridgeshire, Lincolnshire, Yorkshire and Northumberland, and it became possible to see its vehicles as far apart as Ipswich and Edinburgh. In 1920, United sent one of its managers, a Mr Underwood, to Clown in Derbyshire, with instructions to set up bus operations in the area. Although Mr Underwood worked for United and the operations were therefore technically part of United, they traded as WT Underwood Limited. Why a separate name was used for these operations does not seem to have been recorded, although it is possible that some of the local authorities in the area had a dislike of United, and it was an attempt to hoodwink them into believing it was a totally different company, although this is pure speculation. In 1927, Underwoods moved their head office from Clown to Worksop, and the operation was renamed as the more familiar East Midland Motor Services. In 1930, the head office moved again, this time to Chesterfield. In 1926, United moved its head office from Lowestoft to York, placing it more centrally, in an operating area that now stretched from East Anglia to the Scottish borders. 3 years later, in 1929, the company was sold jointly to the Tilling and British Automobile Traction, or BAT Group, and the London North Eastern Railway. E.B. Hutchinson, who had presided over the company as it grew from humble beginnings with just one route to a colossal organisation with 660 vehicles spread over 8 counties, did not agree with the sale and left the company. How the railways came to be involved is perhaps outside the remit of this video, but in a nutshell, they'd become alarmed at the loss of traffic they were experiencing into bus services, and they proposed to introduce their own bus routes in competition. Tilling and BAT opposed this, and as a compromise agreed to let the railway companies buy some of the shares in various bus companies that they owned. The question in the title of this video, how big was United, has now been answered, but it would be remiss of me not to cover events of the 1930s and beyond. Tilling and BAT were concerned that United was too large and unwieldy. In July 1931, the operations in Suffolk, Norfolk and Cambridgeshire were joined with 3 other companies to form the Eastern Counties Omnibus Company. Eastern Counties also took control of the bodybuilding works in Lowestoft, although 5 years later, in July 1936, the works were split off to form a new company, Eastern Coachworks Limited, whose bodywork we've already seen, and they were just looking at on the Bristol RE again. In Lincolnshire, the Lincolnshire Roadcar Company had been formed in 1928 and had also joined Tilling and BAT, so to rationalise operations, the United services in the county transferred to Lincolnshire Roadcar in 1931. Around the same time, some of the operations in Yorkshire transferred to the West Yorkshire Roadcar Company, leaving United with depots in North Yorkshire, County Durham, Northumberland and at Carlisle in Cumberland. The head office was moved again in the 1930s from York to Darlington. In 1942, Tilling and BAT went into administration, and United joined the Tilling Group, as did Eastern Counties, Lincolnshire and West Yorkshire. Tilling was nationalised in 1948 and merged with the Transport Holding Company to form the National Bus Company in 1969. In preparation for bus deregulation in 1986, United was split up, as it was considered too large to privatise in one go. The depots in Scarborough and Pickering were transferred to East Yorkshire Motor Services, while the Northumberland operations were split off to form the new Northumbria Company. In 1990, United was further split when the Cleveland operations became Teesside districts. However, in a series of takeovers etc., which are outside the remit of this video, United, Teesside districts and Northumbria became part of Arriva North East, who once again have recreated the territory of the 1930s to the 1980s, united. Almost. For information in this presentation, I'm indebted to this book, Traveller's Tales from the Borders by Fred Kennington, which has a concise but detailed history of United. Before reading it, I was vaguely aware that United operated in East Anglia, but I didn't fully appreciate that they also ran in the areas between there and their traditional territory in the North East. Other information has come from Wikipedia, as indeed of the images that are shared under Creative Commons. That just about concludes this video. If you've enjoyed it, please click the like button to make it more visible to others, and please consider subscribing to my channel. If North East buses are your thing, I've done a video on Saltburn Motor Services, as already mentioned, and also on Teesside trolleybuses, so please check these out on my channel, and there's also a wide range of other videos on there for you to have a look for, so please do consider subscribing. As always, thank you for watching, take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.